Abandoned by the Gods. Is that the beginning of a bigger series that you're working on?
Yes. So, Abandoned by the Gods was not a planned book. Like I said, in 2022, I wrote one short story every month. So I had 12 short stories by the end of it. And the idea behind writing those stories was because this is the world that I started working on when I was 11 years old, like
Hmm.
19 years back. I started working on it. And it's nothing like what it used to be. So I really wanted to explore this world without influencing the main story that I want to tell. So I decided to take unknown people from this world, like just laymen. It doesn't even have to be like kings and queens. It's just some random villager in this random village which doesn't affect the main story,
Hmm.
and explore what the world might look like. Explore so what the social hierarchy might be like. I do have a caste system in my book, so how could that influence people's lives? What kind of religion exists in this world? What kind of gods exist in this world? Why are they the way they are? And etc. etc. I had a lot of questions that I want to answer,
Hmm.
and these short stories was my way of exploring these questions that I had. Of those, like I think these four that I put in the collection are the best, the ones that stood out the most for me. And the similarity between all four is that each of these stories happens parallel to an important event in the main story.
Hmm.
And this is again an observation I made while putting the collection together, which is why I was able to use it. But yeah, like you said, it is the beginning of something, but you don't need to read these stories to read the book I am writing right now.
Hmm.
And even if you read that book and come to these stories, they're fairly detached, so they are fairly independent.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I really appreciate that you continue to kind of stick with that idea you had when you're 11, because the story I'm working on, same thing. I came up with it, gosh, 15, 16, 17 years ago, like a long time, and it's morphed a lot and it's changed and um started as one thing, and it's still got some of those core essence elements of it,
Mhm.
but it's definitely very different now. And but it's there's something about, like, even though I haven't cracked the puzzle of it, it's like it's the story I want to tell, and it's in there. I just continue to try to find it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that the same for so is it just kind of like you just feel the itch, like it's just like I got to get this written someday?
yeah, it is the itch, but also I think the story I wanted to tell at 11, I was not mature enough to be able to tell it. I didn't have
Hmm.
enough life experience to be able to tell it. Right now, I do. And it's not just maturity and life experience, but also I've seen a lot more of the world than I had when I was 11. So I have a lot of opinions about things. I know which of my opinions are right, which of my opinions I need to work on, because I those opinions are just influenced by my bias and by my past.
Hmm.
So having the maturity to admit that okay, I'm wrong, and then put that into my story is something I would never have done at 11, and only because I'm able to see the other's perspective today. Like even if I don't agree with a particular character's philosophy, it's important for this character to have that philosophy because that adds to a larger discourse in the book. And to
Hmm.
be able to pull that off by giving justice to that one philosophy, despite me not agreeing with it, is something that I can do today and
Hmm.
like do it right, not the way I would have done at 11. Because if I had to tell the story at 11, it would be very one sided, it would be very juvenile. It was very juvenile when I wrote it.
Hmm.
And all this while understanding how stories work, having a good structure in the book, having clear setups and payoffs, having multiple storylines converge into a finale like a Sanderland,
Hmm.
and making sure that if it's going too long, then I give people enough in the middle to keep at it. Because there are some books I've read which sometimes like even Malazan, for example, like sometimes what happens is things are just happening for a very long time, and there is there is no excitement in the middle. It just keeps dragging. Actually, this is a feature of Wheel of Time. The
Hmm.
last book I read, it had a great ending, but then the first 80% of the book was just a slog. and this
Yeah.
is one of the slog books. And I think Sanderson also talks about Wheel of Time in his lectures, where he's like, when you have these very long series, you need to give catharsis every once in a while. You have to give people closure to the storylines you build up, because the longer you go without closure, the longer you go without that catharsis, people are going to start getting bored, are going to start feeling overwhelmed, because you're just not giving them what they are there for.
Hmm.
So to be able to do, if because I am planning a really long book, so I need to plan it in a way where I give my audience that catharsis maybe twice before I give them the finale, or
Yeah.
more times, and to have the patience to sit down and plan it out, and
Hmm.
then discovery write it. And if I'm figuring out that okay, what I'm discovery writing is better than what I've plotted, then go back to the drawing board and make those reconnect it in a way where it all fits back. To
Yeah.
have the patience to do it, to have the experience to do it. That's what I can do today. So yes, the itch is what starts it, but then there's all this hard work, all this learning that I can implement today.
Yeah.
So it's also that.
Yeah. I think Stormlight Archive probably does that so well in that each book, like I remember when I first finished Way of Kings, it's like each book has such a incredibly satisfying ending where you're just like, this is so cool. It really works. But then he leaves so many awesome breadcrumbs for the next. And so I think with Stormlight specifically, he's really doing that well, where you get that kind of the release of he wrapped up the story, but here we go. We're going into the next one. So yeah, love that.
I'm
So
actually reading Rhythm of War right now, and I don't know why, but I maybe it's caused me fatigue, but I love the first three books. I'm not able to enjoy Rhythm of War. Like I'm halfway through the book right now, and I
mhm,
finished other books because I had to take a break from this one.
yeah.
So, is have you read Rhythm of War? Do you think the
So I haven't read Rhythm of War yet. I've read the first three. I love
uh,
those. I'm currently reading Tress of the Emerald Sea,
oh, that's
but I definitely find that, especially with those big, thick books, I finish one and then I need to read something shorter. So I always kind of put a book or two in between each one. Part of that's because I'm a little bit of a slow reader. So, but I also get kind of, I just need to refresh a little, if that makes sense.
yeah, same.
Yeah.
I don't. I like you said. I need those two, three books between the big fat ones because
Yeah.
I need to be patient with the big fat ones. You know.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm excited to read Rhythm of War. I'm getting back to, I think when I finish Tress, I'm going to jump into that one for sure.
Yeah. Dress is a beautiful read. Like
Yeah.
it's one of his best for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So far, it's, I think I'm just like a third of the way through. It's just, it feels like such a light read, but like the stakes are good. Like it's just a good, honestly, I was just talking to someone the other day about, if someone was to ask me like, where would you start with the Cosmere? Most people would probably say like Mistborn or something like that. Maybe Elantris. But I think I would tell people to start with Tress at this point. Like it's just a very easy read. It doesn't totally seem to affect everything else yet. Like so it's just a good entry point, I think.